Hey guys, so we are actually going to take a look at this 2023 Subaru Ascent. This looks like a premium edition just because the wheel pattern usually doesn't go like to a higher trim than that if you're using these base wheels. But in this regard, I wanted to go ahead and touch on this car because basically, and I'm glad Subaru did this, they gave us this until the other car got its surgery. Our 21 Ascent unfortunately needs some repairs, and we'll talk more about that in a different video. But I do want to go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a more or less a review on this car, but a comparison with the 21 as well, because there are some subtle differences on this that actually make this a pretty big pleasure to drive. But on the same token here, it kind of takes away some of the fun as well, so we'll talk about that. For one, the improvement per se that I first noticed is the headlights are going to be different. Of course, this is going to be a facelift per se, so in that regard, the facelift headlights I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, but the look is actually growing on me. So in this regard, I did not like them at first, to be honest with you. I was like, oh my god, those headlights are ugly. But then afterwards, taking a look, they actually are pretty neat. It also has a little Subaru logo in the middle, or in the side, so that actually looks pretty cool. Now, what's funny is initially when my partner and I got together, he had a 2017 Outback that had a similar color scheme, and it was a lighter blue, along with the tan seats that are in there. And basically now he's like, I will never own tan seats again. And I'm like, I don't blame you. That's why I got a car with the black everything. So let's go ahead and take a look inside. Now, granted, this car's interior is going to be a little bit different. Now, the seats are made of the same material as the one in ours, but ours is going to be a black interior, whereas this one is tan. But the two-tone seats look pretty freaking cool. In fact, I do like the two-tone interior of this vehicle overall, but I do low-key kind of wish that we had these black door panels with the black seats, and then had the dash all black as well. I know it would kind of look like very black inside. I know that sounds kind of like goofy, but I know why they did it is to basically interrupt the dashboard and give you some color. But I do like the all black dashboard, no lie. So getting into the car, we'll certainly get into the front, but let me start you off in the back. So we did get the not the captain's chairs, the bench seat. Now, granted, I'm so sorry about the straw wrapper. I was drinking Dutch Bros earlier and I was sitting back here. But basically, the bench seat, I'm not gonna lie, I am not in favor of. After actually being in both, I do find the captain's chairs to be much more comfortable, but also, I noticed that the third row passengers, it's a lot more claustrophobic back here with this seat in the middle. And I know it's like so goofy, but that small amount of space opens up the car so much if you go without it. So definitely, I would say go for the captain's chairs, but if you have a lot of kids and you need to transport them, they could fit in here comfortably. Even if you did have a middle seat, these do fold up and fold down 60-40. So you're still able to get in and out of the back, but I definitely will say that the captain's chairs are a much better choice. Getting into the driver's seat, what I do like about this is that the driver's seat, there were some updates that I really do like compared to the 21 model that we have. And the first thing is a gauge cluster. It definitely looks a lot more Subaru-like, especially with how the new Subarus are doing their gauge clusters, especially with the Outback and such. This is actually falling in line with Subaru. It's like this is catching up to Subaru's like new stuff. So I do like the fact that these gauges are much more simplistic in terms of their color, but on the same token, much less distracting, easier to read, and then on top of that, more mature. So basically what I'm noticing is that the Ascent is maturing and it's basically losing some childlike features like the red and blue gauges. It's looking a lot more sophisticated, which I do like. Now, what I don't like, and this is an upgrade maybe on this trim, I'm not quite sure. What I don't like is this. This drives me crazy. I want buttons, and I'm actually one of the ones that would probably complain if I owned a Volkswagen right now. I want buttons. So basically, the climate controls are all through the center display here. And when we get into all the menus and such, you have to basically control everything with this screen. I personally don't like that. I used to sell Chryslers for a living, and you know, when you have everything as a screen and then the screen goes black, you're not accessing anything. which like low-key really sucks. So basically, I don't like the fact that there's a huge screen. I know the older Ascents, the 21 model that we have is a smaller screen, but they did offer it in a big screen. This one just happens to have it, and I don't know if like that has changed based on the trim level, but it really sucks. I honestly do not like having a big screen here. I'd rather have some physical buttons and a smaller screen, even if it's that little laptop thing. Now, of note, you will notice this. You notice there's no hump in the middle where this right here is there on our car. There's a hump that tells you like what your gas mileage is, additionally what time it is, and you can toggle through menus there. But what we're noticing here is that you can actually get access all of this through these two screens now. So basically they did eliminate this. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little nice that they did, because sometimes that little bump can be a bit distracting. You're not necessarily gonna look in that direction very often, but with that, it's nice to have a simplistic dash. I'm one that does like simplistic interiors, which is why I actually really like my CX-50, because there really isn't like a lot of complexity in the interior shapes and such. So let's go ahead and take a drive. Goodness, a lot of talking after you've eaten dinner. My goodness, like you tend to be like out of breath. So sorry if I sound like a pug. So let's go ahead and take this for a drive. Now, there are some subtle differences between them. What I do like though is they both have the same engine and transmission combination with no differences in power output. So it was a fair analysis to do a comparison between the two cars. Now, granted, one thing I will say off the bat that I absolutely love is when you have the adaptive cruise control on, the car no longer beeps when a car gets in front of you. The 21 Ascent literally would not stop talking. It doesn't shut up. Literally, when you're driving on the highway and you're using the adaptive cruise control, anytime that green light blinks, there's a beep that comes up, and it's so annoying. This one does not do that, so literally they must have gotten enough complaints, but the green light will flash still, just to let you know there's a car in front of you, but it's not going to beep at you, which is absolutely amazing. So in terms of like the actual throttle mapping, I've noticed as well, this car is a lot smoother. The CVT programming in the 21 I'm noticing, and I have a feeling it's the programming because the transmission is still good. But ever since we purchased the 21, the CVT likes to lock up the torque converter very quickly, and I'm noticing this one's much more subtle. The other thing I'm also noticing is that your throttle response is more predictable. In the other car, you either accelerate too slowly or you accelerate out the gate and basically almost rear end the person in front of you. The throttle mapping was not very linear from a stop and at slow speeds. This one is much more linear. It's not going to necessarily take off on me. It doesn't want to do that. And it's actually much smoother in its delivery. And as you can see here, it acts like a CVT for the most part. The upshifts in the Ascent that we have, the 21, it is going to be a little more aggressive. Like you can feel the CVT mimicking the shifts. This one's much more subtle and it's slower. I'm gonna try to see if I can do it, but there's cops out tonight and the speed limits here in Boulder City are pretty low. And this one apparently can't use a stop sign. So we'll go ahead and go, I guess. So it's a little bit more CVT-like. It doesn't like to go into like that automatic transmission mode as readily as the previous model, or not the previous model, but the pre-facelift that we have. So it definitely likes to act more CVT-ish, which I'm fine with. Honestly, the fake shifts to me never really made any sense. But on the same token, I see why people wanted them, especially, you know, obviously, the droning of them can get really obnoxious, but with us having a turbo engine, the CVT pairs a lot better, so we never really get into the ranges of needing to use the step shift automatic mode that it has. Suspension, I'm noticing it's a little bit smoother as well. Now this could be because our suspension, of course, has 70,000 miles on it. But I noticed the suspension on this one and the ride insulation, it just seems a little bit quieter. It's not by much. but it's a little bit quieter. But then again too, I have to remember that we also got performance tires for the Ascent, the 21, so it's gonna obviously ride differently, and also the sound is gonna be a little louder as well. Overall, really nice though. Honestly, these gauges I like so much better. It's just a simple design, and literally the fact that you can toggle through more menus here is just absolutely amazing. But as you can see, using CVT mode, it's not doing any fake shifting or anything like that. It's just acting normally. So it requires a lot more throttle input in order for it to go into step shift mode. But the throttle mapping, again, that is probably the biggest difference I noticed between both cars, is the throttle mapping. Because the thing is that, again, like, you would either accelerate too quickly or too slowly, and the car would really want to take off, or it wouldn't want to take off at all. And with this one, your throttle response is a lot more predictable. So if that was a complaint that you had in like the 19 to 22 models, the 23, it looks like they did some updates to actually map it a lot better, which is really nice, to be honest with you. Like, I find pleasure in driving this, although it takes away a little bit of the fun factor, because, you know, it's kind of fun to know whether or not you're going to plow into the person in front of you. But but in this regard, or it's kind of fun to not know that, but in this regard, the maturity of this car is the thing I'm feeling the most, is that it's feeling more mature at its delivery. And it's like the Ascent grew up, which I really do like. So honestly, I'm really happy that Subaru is continuing with this car, to be honest with you, because it does give us hope that maybe in the future, you know, we're looking at a hybrid. It's gas, for one, is expensive, for one, but in terms of like the Ascent actually having a powertrain that can really improve its fuel economy, I really hope they decide to go with like a hybrid model or something in the future, because we'd be all for it. I know lithium ion batteries are like expensive and such, but when you have a car like this, practicality is what we're looking for, at least with us. And if we can get as much out of a tank as possible, that would be phenomenal, considering we do take the Ascent on more on road trips. The CX-50 I took on one road trip, but I do plan on taking more with it. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So anyways, folks, this is the main thing between the two cars. I mean, of course, with that, the Ascent that we have, the 21, it doesn't have the big screen, so we do have physical buttons. And inside wise, the interior is a little bit different. Like, we talked about the flatter dashboard, but also now the car comes equipped with USB-C ports, so that's really nice. The Ascent that we have, the two USB-A's, or the one USB-A that you see on the right-hand side, the Ascent that we have actually has USB-A's right on top of each other. So there's one on top and one on bottom. And in the X mode, instead of there being a button down here where my right leg is, you see that blank button, it is now integrated into the screen. So that may be because it is a big screen, so everything's just being integrated into it. This button could still exist on the on the Subaru Ascents that have the smaller screen, but I can't say for certain because I haven't seen them. So it was kind of like, I was kind of shocked that we got an Ascent as a loaner, to be honest with you, because I've never seen us get the same car before. And honestly, getting a loaner in itself was difficult. So the fact that we got a Subaru Ascent as a loaner is phenomenal. So anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. Be safe this Christmas, and looking forward to reading some comments or replies or whatever, insults, I don't know, whatever you guys decide to put on there, go for it. So anyways, folks, I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.